Welcome back to Philosophy of the Barber. Hello, Cassie.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to another week where we're talking about topics. This week's topic, I came across the scrolling of the Instagram, and one of the professionals asked an interesting question that I saw, and I thought was worth talking about. And their post from Bottle Blonde 76, she asks, do you feel the industry favors men? Are they the better cutters? I kind of wanted to pull back a little bit from that. We can cover that, but also like talking about prejudice and favoritism in general, whether it's client to professional or employment environment or the industry as a whole, those types of things. What are your thoughts?
I feel like my brain automatically navigates to more the gender side of things.
Sure.
Because that is something that my brain easily can relate to that, just from even minor experiences. Like in my first shop, I had a gentleman who preferred female barbers for the comfort of his experience, and he was very respectful. It wasn't even like it was in a creepy kind of way.
Right.
You know what I mean? It wasn't just because he was trying to have a woman's touch, but in a way that is what he wanted. He felt more comfortable. He felt like he could relax more via sitting with a man versus sitting with a man. And so I thought that was very interesting, and that's something he touched upon from the jump, like when I was gonna like reference him to another barber when I left there.
I'd say more often than not, I've had the opposite. In my early years of barbering, there were select men who would come into the barbershop and specifically wait for one of the male barbers. But I think that was probably more of maybe a generational thing, but also that was before the huge influx of crossovers and women going into barbering. So that's kind of changed. And I haven't had that in a lot of years.
Well, and I will say I was shocked when he was so open about having that like preference. Because I certainly didn't expect it, even though I've been in the height of the big boom of women in the industry. Like I was a part of that. I've been in the industry almost 4 years now. I
do also think that depending on the woman's haircut they wear, it also has an effect on people's preference.
Yes.
Like, I think somebody's a lot more willing to sit into a female barber's chair or a female haircutter's chair who wants a shortcut if that female has a shortcut.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, I can kind of understand that because we are our own billboard. But at the same time, we're not cutting our own hair the vast majority of the time.
Yeah.
So it's very much like, the whole, riddle of there are two barbers in town. One has a really great haircut. The other one has a really crappy haircut. Which one do you go to?
Yeah.
But as far as, like, employment situations, the first barbershop I worked at full-time was owned by somebody who had an opinion on the subject that initially, before I started working there, was totally against having a female in the shop. Now, this was a shop that was military, police, and fire themed.
Yep.
It was based on his family and, his background and all of that stuff. But that was his opinion at the time, and I just would go and hang out and watch my friend who worked for him part-time cut, a couple days a week.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where, like, my friend, for whatever reason, couldn't fill in during a weekend. And I was like, I can cut.
Yeah.
And he was like, seriously? Like, can you? Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
So I was able to do that, and, it was a little bit of a test. And I worked for him for almost a year. And by the time I left, his opinion had done a total 180. He's like, honestly, I would not want to continue to own a barbershop without a female working here. So I love being, like, a catalyst to, like, change people's perceptions and prejudice.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And see, I didn't really... It's interesting, I didn't deal with a lot of difference like that because, like I said, I came in with the boom of females in the industry, even more so into the very first shop that I went in. the ratio was way female dominant. We had when I started there, we had 2 male barbers there, and one of them was the boss, so he was only part-time. To the 6 women that were there.
I feel like that might also be indicative of the educational institution that your employer
Yes.
like had a relationship with,
Yes.
as well as where they got the lion's share of their students from for the barber program. Because, as I said, you went through with a lot of the insurgence or resurgence of females, but crossing over. Like your entire barber class were crossovers, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it was an all-female class.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're getting 2 programs out of you instead of 1.
Yep.
Whereas my barber class was 20% female. So, like, pretty average for what one would expect.
Realistically, that's about the percentage for the barber class that was there at my time in the crossover program.
Yeah.
I think there was 3 girls.
Yep.
To the 20-something.
Sorry, I still consider that to be a big class.
How big was your class?
12.
Oh, okay.
Full time. Because there's only 12 stations in the school. There also have been other establishments who have gained reputations over the years about generally having that discouragement of females to work in their establishments.
Oh yeah, there was a pretty set rumor on one of the shops that came to visit us in my crossover class. In fact, the comment was even made, I'm not sure why they're talking to our class if they're not going to hire female barbers. And the establishment, I guess, has a hair salon in the upstairs area, and that I believe his wife owns or runs, however. And so when asked about if he has female barbers working there, he said that he hasn't, but that it's because they normally just end up going upstairs. And I was just like, so you're talking to the barber crossover class for your wife then? Like, what are we doing?
Well, that really is the question of, like, are you trying to give yourself plausible deniability? Like, are you trying to, I don't know, not be visibly like that?
Yeah.
Like, have it continue to be, like, a hush-hush rumor?
Yeah.
And just
a coincidence that only guys work here.
Right, and have for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of people that are not direct.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem very direct to me. And I certainly wouldn't want to be represented as a barber professional by somebody who has that opinion.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there are any shops that, like, do the opposite, like places like Sports Clips, or, you know, those that have, like, we'll say the Hooters style business model.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they, like, actively will only hire females, or it's like, yeah, we'll hire a male, but you gotta wear the uniform.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've only ever seen females in there.
But it's also, like, indicative of the natural ratios of who enters cosmetology school, because I'm sure that's the majority of what they hire.
Yeah.
Just like Supercuts or Hair Excitement or any other chain, Great Clips, you know, all those. Because, I mean, the industry is still, especially in this area, dominated by cosmetologists as far as licensure goes. Like,
oh yeah.
Even, like, when I became a barber, there were 12,000 hairdressers to, like, 1,000 barbers in the state.
Oh wow.
This is a 12 to 1. Now, those are licensed. It's not necessarily saying they're actively working in the industry.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah, it's still a lot.
And I'm sure the ratio for that has maintained, even though barbers, like, license have gone up, because you do have to remember that there's a lot of crossovers that hold both licenses.
There's still technically lots of licensed cosmetologists, though.
Yes.
So for every crossover, there's one for each side.
Yep. But I don't think you get nearly as many barber crossovers to cosmetology. And I kind of actually wonder, does Empire even offer that kind of a program? Do they have a crossover program for cosmetology?
No. No, I don't think so. It's the only
That's a little prejudice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like, oh, well, there's not a market for it.
Well, no, in theory, Because of crossing over that way, you would need the whole cosmetology program anyways.
Why?
Oh, wait, no, never mind.
If you did Master Barber...
Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting that they comped my scores, so I didn't redo a lot. I was thinking about, like, all of the things that I did during barber school compared to, but I forgot it's because they took all my grades.
Yeah.
I wasn't counting my crossover.
Because all a Master Barber would have to learn would be the nails and makeup portions.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the legislation covers, like, going both ways. You just need the 300-hour crossover.
Yeah, it'd probably be some weird divvy up for yourself.
Right. Well, I mean, when you've literally covered everything else, 300 hours isn't that long. But what was your crossover program hours?
500? 500 or 600? 500.
Yeah, and that's a business decision. Like, I feel like there are some programs for schools that go a little bit more hour requirements for their program than what the state requires.
Yeah.
I've seen that in different things before.
What does the state require?
For crossover, 300 hours.
Oh, okay.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Which is not a lot of time. But, I mean, for going from cosmetology to barbering, technically speaking, shaving's the only thing you have to learn.
Yes.
So, 300 hours between the chapter bookwork and on-the-floor practical clinic hours, as opposed to 2 chapters that we would have to cover for cosmetology. Though I feel like it's probably, at least with the makeup, aside from sanitation and basic application skills, like that's a low-risk thing to learn.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Unlike shaving, where there's like, oh, no, you really gotta learn technique.
Yes.
Otherwise, cuts happen.
Yeah, they do.
Nails, though, would be the higher risk one as far as that goes, I would think.
Yeah.
Fungus and sanitation.
Which, unfortunately, my brain is one of those brains that really caters to the whole, if you don't use it, you lose it. I don't hold on to information that I don't need anymore. So, like, nails? No. I don't... That part of my license is basically non-existent. It's like it almost didn't even happen. The information that I know about nails are things that I've known about nails. You know what I mean? It's like the hardcore stuff about nails. Which, for girls, a lot of that is basic knowledge. Like, if you've ever gone and gotten your nails done, you've watched the process and seen what's going on. But, like, the diseases, the all the different weird things that can happen to your nails, I know what can happen. I don't know what it's called. Like, none of that is...
Couldn't answer that test question.
No. In fact, it's a good thing we don't have to, like, retake a written to, like, renew our license. I mean, don't get any ideas.
It just means that you don't offer services of which you are not confident in your skill set.
Correct. We just don't do any of that stuff.
I know somebody asked me if I did perms the other day. And
I get asked that
a
couple different times, yeah.
But this was an older lady. You know, the historic demographic for perms.
Yes.
Not the new.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry, but though licensed to do them, I am morally opposed to giving perms. I refuse to put chemicals of that strength on people's heads.
Yeah, it's intense.
I would also want a, like, commercial grade air filtration system if I was ever dealing with perm fumes or nail stuff.
Yes. It's too much, especially the perm stuff. That used to tear up the school. I hated perm day. For no matter who was doing it. Because it didn't matter because you smelled it throughout the whole school.
I think it reminds me more of, like, going to the high school science wing and just the smell of formaldehyde permeating the entire corridor. Only it's perm solution.
Yeah. It's funny, what it reminds me of is when... So we live near a lot of phosphate mines down in Florida. So that means the water in the area is very phosphorus, which means it smells like rotten eggs. So... when people have sprinklers in their yards, it's just spraying that phosphorus water all over the place. So you'll just be driving down the road past someone's house and just get a whiff of all that, That's what perm solution reminds me of.
I could understand that, sure.
Just with a tinge of burnt.
Sulfates.
Yes. God, yes.
Ammonium thioglycolate, solid. Bleh.
Mm-hmm. More words I don't retain. You don't use it, you lose it.
You know why I retained that phrase? Legally Blonde.
Oh my god. Stop.
Some things you just don't forget.
Yep.
So what other examples could we think of possibility of showing prejudice in the industry? Someone in Bottle Blonde 76's comments on her post mentioned the number of products you can think of that are a man's name versus the number of products you think of that are woman-owned that aren't a woman's name.
Ah. Now I'm like racking through product names in my head.
I mean, the first one that pops into anybody's head is Paul Mitchell.
Yeah, 100%.
But like, guys will use their name.
Yeah.
Whereas women are looking to build a brand that is separate from who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody will, open up a barbershop and call it, Mo's Barbershop because it's Mo.
All the time.
Yeah. But, or, Rick's or anything like that.
Yep.
Whereas I always wanted to make sure that I opened a shop with a brand that was separate from me. That way it was more able to be sold to somebody and still retain its own identity without my presence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Polished and Proper was always Polished and Proper.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be there for it to continue to be that.
Mm-hmm. Whereas Rick's is weird because there's no Rick.
Anymore, yeah. Rick is sold and like, that's not the only Rick's Barbershop I know. Like, I know, because
there's a couple different Ricks.
Well, and there's also, like, we're in this little tri-state of tiny states.
Yeah.
So, not everybody registers their trademark nationally.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. So, the podcast is registered.
Oh, cool.
And trademarked and all that.
Cool.
But most people only have to do with their Secretary of State's office.
Quick side tangent. Did you know that a lady was trying to get a passport for her daughter, and she named her daughter after a character off of Game of Thrones, and so they denied her getting a passport because the name was trademarked?
That's odd.
They ended up having to jump through a bajillion hoops. They ended up getting it, but it was a process.
Let's say.
What happens when you name your daughter Khaleesi?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, a trademark should not be infringing upon people's name.
Correct. I feel like that should have
priority.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I'm not part of the Screen Actors Guild. I'm not like not getting profit off of having this as my name. That child had no control over that.
Yeah.
Birth certificate. Well, are you gonna pay to get that changed? No, because I don't want to change my name.
Yep. Done.
So I get that. What other examples can you think of?
Well, not so much a prejudice, but like, it is interesting how often, no matter how many times I say barber, no matter how many times my name is barbershop for my shop, no matter how many times it is out there that I am a barber, that I'm always called a hairstylist for the sake of just me being a woman.
Yes.
It literally does not matter.
Super common.
So many people, I mean, a lot of people call me a barber, but a lot of people also do not. And sometimes it, like, peeves me a little bit. And I will say one time, this was just a man on the internet. A guy decided to message me on one of my dating apps I was on once upon a time. And he said, he's like, do you mean hairstylist? He's like, I didn't realize women could be barbers. And I was just like, that's not a great way to start a conversation. We shouldn't do this.
You're gonna start off talking to me by correcting me?
Yeah.
As though you know more about my profession than I do?
We just...
Oh, does that count as mansplaining?
Yes. I think so.
I will say that, yes, I've had that over the years, but every time that has been said in my chair, I have promptly corrected them.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to do it once in a while. But for the most part, I think I've gotten that point across in my intimidating way.
It works.
It is.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Trauma teaches quickly.
You're not wrong.
I think that's, unfortunately, that's such a long-held belief, and I don't think media helps that at all. I think that'll always be around until people start educating themselves and people around them.
Yeah.
I will say one thing about my clients: they're really good at educating people around them. Like, once they've learned something, they're gonna share that knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Make sure everybody gets the memo.
That's part of the referral orientation.
Yeah.
Do not call her a hairdresser. Those eyes look round, but they are stabby.
Did you have any issues, like, going through school?
Most of my issues were not really gender-based, I don't think. Aside from, like, being at a disadvantage when it came to trading services with fellow students.
Yeah.
Like, that is real. I mean, unless you have the luxury of either being on hormone replacement therapy or, like, having CPOS.
Yeah.
Then, sorry, you can't shave me because I have nothing to shave. Until the concept of my dermaplaning came in, but that was after my time. Like, that didn't become a thing until after I already graduated all my programs. So, like, today, I mean, if you want to get dermaplaned, it's a little bit different, but it is something you could offer as, like, a trade service. Because, like, I wanted all the practice on shaving, so I wanted to make sure I did at least one shave a day.
Yeah.
All through school. Like, probably after the first. Once I got the green light to be able to shave, I did whatever I could to get one shave a day. And sometimes that meant I had 2 friends. And I'd just alternate. They get a shave every other day.
There you go, yeah.
If I could convince a client to get one.
Yeah.
And so some of my classmates felt as though I was hogging the shaves. But at the same time, they weren't, hopping out of their chair to greet a client or, trying to talk them into getting a shave or, like, really putting forth that effort.
Yeah.
So those were more of the issues that I had in barber school, not so much the, oh, she's a girl, she can't cut hair. But I also already had short hair. Like, people could have haircut practice on me.
Yes.
Whereas the other 2 women had long hair. One started to get a little bit of a nape undercut, but, like, couldn't do a full fade on her.
School will do that to them.
Right?
So, a couple of the girls at my program also got undercuts.
But
just little ones, just to have a little something.
But, like, they couldn't offer any service other than a long haircut.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, we needed practice on. Because the vast majority of the time, we just had mannequin work for long hair.
Yeah. You're one mannequin.
But had short hair and gotten barbershop haircuts since I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say that was kind of one of the perks of barber school for me, was the free haircuts. And I always volunteered to be someone's demo for, like, any time a barber was coming in from a shop to, like, do and talk to us. If they didn't have a model already, I was like, I got you. So I used to get cool skin fades all the time. It's great. Love that. I will say there's been a couple times, more so at the beginning, and I think it might have also had to do with, like, the confidence that I was emitting at that time, because this was at the very beginning of my career. But a couple of old school people sat in my chair and almost, like, questioned if I were sure that I was going to be able to do this. And again, I feel like, one, yes, my gender was a factor in that, but also, like, I wasn't the most confident gal running around. But luckily, I feel like it's all, since it has become more and more popular, I feel like it's just kind of normal now.
And I definitely had some of the old-timers question me, but I had the luxury of not having a lack of confidence from the amount of time I was at my school, the environment my school produced, like, all of those things that kind of factored into that. So by the time I was, like, cutting people in a shop, I was like, yeah, I got you. And I wasn't like taking offense to that question. I was just like, of course I do. Yeah. What's your problem? Why don't you know this?
Yeah. Not I.
Well, and it's fair. Like, I'd say the vast majority of people have that, like, growth that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And realistically, I would be concerned if people didn't have a bit of, like, self-consciousness, because it means they're not open to learning anymore.
Yeah.
And especially in your first barbershop environment, you still need to be open to learning.
Very open. I'm always so open to learning new stuff.
We can get off of gender-based prejudice here for a second. And go with... I wouldn't call it prejudice, but it's certainly a marketing tactic. Left-handed people. The most... discriminated against group of people.
Yes, you poor thing.
That don't complain about it too heavily.
Well, your tools are more expensive, correct?
Shears are more expensive.
Shears are more expensive.
I still don't like that nobody's ever come out with an adjustable clipper for a lefty.
No, it's not thought about.
Nobody cares. Suck it up.
I feel like it would be better.
To use your index finger to adjust the lever? Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So really, it would be benefiting the righties.
Yeah, really. That's what would happen.
Hey, Wall, take a hint. I have seen some ambidextrous adjustables, but they're like the clicky twist ones.
Clicky twist.
You've never seen an adjustable clipper that has their adjuster is on like the neck?
Oh, interesting.
I want to say Oster made one that I had for a bit. The Juice, yeah, it was called the Juice. They had some really great guards for that one though.
Interesting.
The guards were really great because they were metal teeth.
The Juice, that's alright. Yeah.
Metal teeth with a plastic attachment part.
Okay.
And they slid on rather than clipping.
Yep.
So they stayed a lot better, and it was metal, so it was way thinner you wouldn't have to do as many passes to get all the haircut. I'm pretty sure I had that in barber school. And that was when like lithium ion was first rolling out, and it makes me feel old.
Those are the batteries that blow up, right? Or had issues blowing up?
Well, it depends on the clipper we're talking about.
Fair.
If you're a Stylecraft user, then they had one issue with one of their clippers not that long ago.
Really?
Oh yeah, they were like blowing up on people's stations.
Wow.
Some sort of faulty battery sort of thing. So
I would freak out.
They made everything right though. I guess they rolled out an exchange and like part repair sort of thing. I mean, I would not trust that clipper again, that's for sure.
Nuh-uh.
But I mean, at the same time, I've also seen people's hair dryers, blowing fire because they got to shorten them.
Oh no. I have a cheap blow dryer. Oh no.
I think as long as you keep hair out of it, you'll be fine. Just make sure you clean it.
Solid.
Oh, well, alright. Well, so we touched on this in previous episodes that I can't think of at the moment. But tell me if you consider this to be prejudice. The retail market in barbering is exclusively targeted to men. Whereas, as you and I are evidenced of, there are plenty of females that have short hair.
Oh yeah. Plenty.
The same, though, could be said, and it's really the industry perpetuating the stereotype of women are hairdressers and males are barbers by the retail that they sell.
Yes.
Is like largely, Paul Mitchell products are typically towards women. Most salon products are towards women. And
there's usually sometimes like a men's line.
Right.
In
like
that
the Mitch
brand,
line.
But like it's always much smaller, obviously. It doesn't even come to scale.
Yeah, but I understand that from a marketing perspective without it being like gender prejudice, because reality is men don't buy as many products typically, and women, or at least people with long hair, usually need more products to maintain whatever style they want that hair to be. Because the more hair you have, the more maintenance it is.
Yeah.
Whereas most men are wearing short hair, so they really like low to no maintenance solutions.
Yeah.
So like a single product, or like hence the 2-in-1 creation and all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But a lot of that, I think, is also a lack of offering or education. Like in the case of my retail section here, like, because I offer these other things to my clients, they get educated on what they are and what they do, and then they're interested in them. And some people are like, yeah, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it might be a question of more chicken or the egg. Like, what comes first? The interest, or you're going to create your line based on the statistics?
Yeah. I also will say that it's interesting to see when women finally make the jump to going to a barber. Like women that do have shorter hair, when they make that jump to going from a hairstylist to a barber, it's usually... I usually find it interesting to see that 9 times out of 10, it's because the person that was previously doing their hair wouldn't go short enough. Like, wouldn't go as short as they wanted. But I feel like that those kind of things happening will also help, like, the female hairdresser thing as opposed to male barber thing.
Yes and no.
And the cross. I think the cross of clientele also helps.
I'll say yes and no, because it's evident that when those women go from their hairstylist and seek out a barber, the amount of relief that comes across their face when they discover that their barber is a female.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes. I will, yes. I can agree to that.
While at the same time, if that woman would have sat in a male barber's chair, the likelihood of them turning her down also rather high.
Yeah. I will say I didn't ever, because I grew up obviously going to a salon, and so like salons still do men's cuts. And so like I never even considered like denying somebody based on gender to cut their hair. I didn't realize it mattered. But
it doesn't.
There's a lot. Yeah, correct. It doesn't matter. But there's a fair amount of barbershops that will not touch women's hair.
And that's one thing that irks me to death. Not to mention the price difference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's wild.
Talk about prejudice. Yeesh.
Yeah.
Sexism at its worst is the price point of most salons when it comes to men's cuts versus women's cuts. And I go, I'm getting the exact same cut as that guy.
Yep.
And I had to pay more than twice as much because I have indoor plumbing. Nice. I don't understand how they even get away with that now in 2024.
Right? Right?
Like, you can barely have different bathrooms at this point, but I'm still having to pay a totally different price? And bathrooms have a lot more to do with my plumbing than a haircut does.
Literally. Yeah, because I remember when my mom, her hair was growing back out from chemo, and she, first of all, it came back super, super kinky, curly. She had no idea what to do with her little mini afro. And she had been going to a stylist down there for a while, and it just wasn't doing anything that she was liking or wanted it to look like or anything like that. And so, like, the barber that I was seeing was already kind of hesitant of my hair, but since I started there with a buzz cut, he couldn't really fear that because, like, I was already buzzed bald. Like, just work with what's there. But, like, I had to almost kind of persuade him to cut my mom's hair. And then when he saw her hair and saw how short it was a little bit more comfortable, but was still very hesitant. And I'm just like, treat it like you would any other haircut. Like, it's just a kinky, curly, short haircut. Just taper it down, trim the top. But it was just like this whole almost like an unneeded pressure. I feel like.
Do you think that has something to do with men? Like just men being more self-conscious when offering a service to a female than to a male?
The pressure of the judgment of a woman.
Right.
Maybe. Yeah. Yep. They don't want to be critiqued by a woman. That's fair.
Or, if based on past experience, they've had, the unfortunate situation of being emasculated.
Mm-hmm. Working with men is their safe zone. Love getting to pull in different perspectives onto things.
Yeah. Well, you gotta ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we both have a heightened sense and focus when we have a female in the chair for the first time.
Yes.
Because for the first time, we're trying to get to know things because female to female dynamics are totally different.
Totally different.
So, we have to be on our A game and be very, very aware of details of the experience.
Yes.
So, I don't consider that to be prejudice. I consider that to be knowing how to, operate with females.
Yeah.
But, once that initial one is complete, we don't have that heightened sense in the future because it's already been taken care of.
Yes, agreed. Sometimes, honestly, for me, you can sense the pressure, especially when they're in the waiting area. Like if you're still with a client and they have to sit there for a minute. Not that it's not that they're doing anything wrong, but you can feel the
they're watching you.
Yeah, and the tension almost in the room tightens up. And that almost changes a little bit once the cape goes on and they kind of just get to sit and relax for a second. It almost starts to build that trust a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially when the consultation happens, because then the communication happens, because that's what's causing the tension prior to is communication isn't occurring.
And I feel like so many women have issues with women. Just as a whole, it's just the history of us. We're not nice to each other a lot of the time. And so I feel like I still instinctively run on the side of caution in that some people might not like me. And so I feel like if anybody has a similar mindset to how I used to, which is that nobody liked me, I didn't know what kind of female I was. You know what I mean? If somebody doesn't know what kind of female I am looking at me, but once that consultation does happen and that communication does open up and you're just oh, you're just really chilling down to earth too. We can just chill and vibe and it's not going to be some lady competition here in the room in the chair. It's a safe zone.
Yeah.
Nobody's at war in here.
Yeah. There's no one-uppers.
Yeah, no.
I feel like most people like you though. You're a very likable person.
Oh.
I cannot say the same thing for myself. I am under no illusions that I am for some and not others.
Yes. An acquired taste.
I don't even think that that's the case. I don't know as I grow on people as much as it's more of either you can handle me or you can't. Like a fireball. I said a fireball, not fireball. There's a difference. The
candy?
The candy, yes.
Yes, I love the candy.
Either you love it or you don't.
I'm glad you chose Fireball. These are great candies.
And that's why you're still here.
That's why this works.
You can handle my spice. You think of any opportunities you had to maybe disperse with people's prejudice by being an example of proving it wrong?
Actually, a little bit. I feel like there's sometimes a assumption that women are in this profession, more geared on the barber side of things, to use our gender to our benefit and sexualize the profession.
Better tips, old dirty men.
Yes, being flirty, getting better tips that way, taking advantage of the fact that you do work with men all the time.
Oh yeah, you see that on Instagram of the super tight pants and
yes,
big booty and all that
women
kind of stuff.
Women that wear heels in the shop and stuff like that, which no dig to them. If that's what you like to wear, more power to you. I don't wear that outside of the shop, let alone inside of the shop. That's just not my forte. But I feel like that's an assumed practice for some people, and I like to prove them wrong in that aspect. And that, like, I'm building clientele based off of my communication skills with people and my ability to cut hair. It has nothing to do with how I look. It has nothing... Okay, I can't say that for sure. It does not intentionally do with any way with how I look or how I present myself to people in any way, shape, or form. So that's a point that I like to prove. In fact, my brother made a comment on it when he was here. My brother was visiting town a couple weeks ago, and he came by the shop, and I gave him a haircut. And I'm like a jeans and t-shirt kind of gal in my shop. I'm very comfortable, very lax. I'm usually not wearing makeup majority of the time. But like outside of here, I do wear short shorts, crop tops, all the things. I dress a little bit cuter and all that stuff. But like that's just not something I choose to bring into my shop. One, for practicality, and two, I just don't feel it's
professional.
Yeah, it's just not necessary. And so my brother had made a comment that he was proud of me for not having my tits out. He was like, you know what? He's like, good for you. He's like, I wasn't really sure. He's like, but good for you for not having your tits out, cutting hair. I was like, you know what? Thanks, Dale. I appreciate you. Thanks for noticing.
Your sibling dynamic is entertaining.
Yeah, that's just not... But it is something that's assumed sometimes.
Well, we certainly covered the practicality of that in our clothing episode like hair splinters. You don't want them there.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate that would be assumed.
Yeah, I remember one time a friend, I don't remember who it was, I can't even say a friend of mine, but somebody made the passing comment that we should get a group of girls together and wear just aprons and cut hair. And I was like, that's
gross.
Really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For me, for you, for everybody involved.
Unsanitary.
Yes. The areas the hair would go.
Spoken like somebody who'd never cut hair before.
Yeah. Honestly. Somebody was like, oh yeah, that'd be a great idea. I'm like, for who? Who?
Well, and then there comes, like, the insecurity of significant others. Mm-hmm. In the case of, like, what we have set up here, when one of us is here alone, because we do have slightly different schedules. Mm-hmm. That's actually one of the reasons I put up Pierre. It's like, it's not just for my safety being here by myself, not knowing who's going to open that door. It's also, like, if, heaven forbid, there was a insecure partner.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I am here alone with your spouse.
Yep.
But you can check the tape.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. I cut his hair.
And I feel like if you present yourself that way, it makes it more open to those sorts of things happening.
Yes, it's much more... I want to say it's kind of like daring someone to say something.
Yeah. And, like, honestly, I'm already a very friendly and, like, charismatic, animated kind of person that gets misconstrued for flirtation often. Men, just because I'm talking shit and a lady, take my shit talking like I'm a man. It's not me being cute. Like, it's me talking shit.
I do feel like that's an unreasonable expectation.
I know. I'm just like to throw that out there.
This is what she wishes would be the case.
Yes, but
understands that is not reality.
Correct. Yes, correct. But, like, so that's already something I have to be considerate of when I interact with people. And throw my cleavage into that mix, that is the last thing I need. We'll just keep all the bits covered, keep everything good, and we'll be fine. I do appreciate when sometimes I cut a guy's hair for the very first time and the significant other comes the next haircut.
As opposed to the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you appreciate it more when they come the second?
I say appreciate in the sense of gives me entertainment. It makes me giggle.
Got it.
Because they obviously liked the haircut and wanted to come back. But obviously the wife needed to see what kind of lady was going to be regularly cutting their husband's hair or partner or whatever.
Right.
And then I usually never see them again. It's fine.
Yeah. I have more of the experience that either I meet the significant other and we're good and I'm happy to see them whenever they come. And they'll usually end up being people that refer people to me.
Yep.
Or I never meet their significant other. Ever.
They're just in their own bubble.
Which is also fine.
Oh, yeah.
Any other thoughts on, like, gender prejudice?
No, I feel like it's getting better.
Agreed. I mean, it's an uphill battle, but
Yeah.
I think we're making progress.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see y'all next week.
Have a good night.